Time-traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed teams up with his 12-year-old self for a mission to save the future. Starring Ryan Reynolds, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and Zoe Saldaña. All right, welcome to Flix Freaks. I'm Brian Donovan, and this week we are talking about Netflix's original release of The Adam Project. It has Ryan Reynolds, Jennifer Garner, Catherine Keener, Zoe Saldaña. So getting right into it, overall the plot on this was actually decent. It wasn't too complicated. Ryan Reynolds' character, he's a starfighter, he's a pilot from the future, the year 2050, and he goes back in time. He meets his 12-year-old self because there's a problem in the future that they gotta fix back in time. The movie, for me, it kind of reminded me and had that feel of like a combination almost like Terminator 2 meets The Last Starfighter. Overall, if you watch the first act, which is about the first half hour, it had the potential of being really slow and just boring as hell, but there was a nice blend of comedy that covered all of that up and made you really like the characters. The director is Shawn Levy. Now, Shawn Levy has done a whole bunch of stuff. He has a long resume. You'll know him best if you are a millennial. You're definitely going to know Shawn Levy's movies because he did the Night of the Museum trilogy. He's done the Pink Panther, Cheaper by the Dozen, Big Fat Liar. If you're a Gen Xer like myself, maybe you've actually watched a lot of these movies with your kids. And he always brings a very nice blend of comedy, of action, and of drama. Even though you're watching a family movie, it's not a comedy, it's not a drama, it's not an action, it's everything all at once. And he does such a good job at that. I really enjoy his films. As far as the actors go, the actors I think were actually really well cast. There's this new kid who plays 12-year-old Adam, and that's Walker Scobell. When you watch this, you actually think that you're watching like 12-year-old Ryan Reynolds because the mannerisms and the quips, the smart mouth, the delivery, the timing, this kid has it down. And he has done a very good job embodying kind of the Ryan Reynolds persona, the comedy persona that we've all come to know and love over the years. Now, playing the villain in this movie is Catherine Keener, and she does a really good job. She's really believable as the villain because she just has that voice and that power and that presence, her stage presence, her voice, her demeanor. She does a really good job playing the antagonist and the villain in this particular movie. She was really believable. I liked her a lot. Mark Ruffalo plays Ryan Reynolds' dad. He plays also a scientist, go figure. It's almost like you want a scientist in Hollywood right now, you got like two choices. You got like Mark Ruffalo and you got Jeff Goldblum. So if you want the eccentric side of things, you go with Jeff Goldblum. If you want a little bit more of the grounded, kind of the narcissistic side a little bit, you'll go with Mark Ruffalo. So Mark Ruffalo plays a scientist, but you don't feel that it's like, oh, well, he's just playing another scientist. Like, no, Mark Ruffalo does a really good job playing the dad, playing the scientist, and he's got the humanitarian qualities to him as well. So you really like his character. So it's not just another Mark Ruffalo scientist character. Like, oh, yay, he's Dr. Bruce Banner again. It's nothing like that. So going back to Ryan Reynolds and I are about the same age, and I have watched Ryan Reynolds movies and enjoyed Ryan Reynolds movies ever since Van Wilder. That's kind of my first experience with him, and I've grown through my adulthood watching his movies and watching his career develop. If you watch his other movies like Buried or The Woman in Gold or The Captive, you will see that Reynolds is a very good dramatic actor. I actually like a lot of his dramatic pieces, sometimes more than his comedy. This character is different. This character has issues. He's got daddy issues. He's got problems. He's got marital problems and issues there. And so you can see a nice range with Ryan Reynolds' talents in this particular film. Even though it seems like, oh, it's just another family film and I'll forget about it next week, no big deal. Either way, Reynolds delivers. All the actors, I think, delivered, and they did a great job and made this a very enjoyable experience for myself. There weren't really any holes in the story. I can usually pick those out when it's quite noticeable. If I watch this second and third time, like I'll watch it again later with my family, and maybe I'll find something there, like a mistake or something like that. But overall, there's no holes in the story, and that is a test to Shawn Levy's skills as a director. When you watch his other stuff, he doesn't really make a whole ton of mistakes. This guy's really good, even though he's not a household name as a filmmaker. He does an excellent job, and like I said, when you start looking at his resume, you're like, oh man, I've grown up on all his movies. I've seen all this, and I've seen this, and he actually does do a good job. So yeah, there weren't really any holes. I will say one thing, slight spoiler, but not a spoiler. There is one particular scene that it jarred me and it pulled me away. So and I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to let you guys find it. So there is a dramatic scene with Ryan Reynolds' character and Zoe Saldaña's character, and you're in it, and it's emotional, and it's a really good scene between the two actors. And then all of a sudden, it goes from a close-up, bang, and you're pulled out into a wide shot, and then like for a second and a half, and then you're pushed right back into a close-up, and it's so jarring that it actually removes you from the emotion of that scene between those two actors and those two characters. Next is the soundtrack. I really like the soundtrack to it. So we had like the Spencer Davis group, Led Zeppelin, Pete Townsend, Boston. So obviously Shawn Levy is a little bit older. He's a little bit older than myself. I think he's in his 50s, so he's a Gen Xer. So you kind of see his generation of music in there a little bit, but it blends very well. So I think it's a nice introduction. So like when my kids watch this later, it's a nice introduction to some of those classic rock songs. Now, the opening scene was pretty awesome. I'm going to kind of give this away a little bit, which is you kind of had, it's a space, and you got the camera panning down, or sorry, the camera tilting down, and then you see the earth, you see the horizon, and you got the Spencer Davis song playing. You hear that beat, bum 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 ba bum 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 ba, and it just flows really, really well, and it catches you. So the opening really does hook you. The opening first, I'd probably say 3.5, 4 minutes, really does hook you well. And then when we meet the next Adam character and we go into there, then it does slow down. But again, the comedy makes up for it, so you're not going to be disappointed. But that opening scene was really good. The soundtrack was awesome. It was matched up with the scenes really well. I think my favorite part was when they introduced Zoe Saldaña's character. I'm getting goosebumps because it was really freaking awesome. They introduced Zoe Saldaña's character with Led Zeppelin, and it just rocked. It was so awesome. So I really enjoyed the soundtrack, and I thought it blended to everything and kind of tied everything together really nicely. Cinematography was great, the color grading was good, the camera angles, everything, all of that was on points. There's nothing that's going to throw you off really. Everything was actually put together real well. This movie is rated PG-13. But I think it's actually a really good family film. So the reason I personally think that it's rated PG-13 is because there's a couple of cuss words here and there that, depending on your parenting, you may not want your kids hearing. But it's not over the top. I want to say like there might be like 2 that I can remember off the top of my head. Bad words for little kids. As far as the adult jokes, really does. I think there might be 1 or 2 like adult innuendo jokes, but I don't think it's anything, personally, I don't think it's anything the kids are going to catch. I think it's done very nice and tastefully. So I would say that my 8-year-old can watch it, but hey, you're moms and dads, so it's up to you on whether you want your kiddos to watch this or not. But I think it's actually pretty fitting, and I'm honestly a pretty harsh critic and judge when it comes to stuff like that. There's kid shows I don't even let my 8-year-old watch. I'm like, no, I understand those jokes and I don't like them, and you can't watch this show, even though it's like geared towards an 8-year-old. So. Okay, so the moment of truth. What Netflix rating am I going to give this? I'm sure by now you pretty much figured that I like the movie, so I am going to give it a Netflix thumbs up. I like this. I thought it was a good movie, and I'm going to be honest. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, another movie. It's whatever. But when I saw it, and then when I look it up, because I always look up not only the actors are. I honestly judge my movies mostly based off who the filmmaker is. And when I saw that it was Levy, and I was like, oh, well, he's done this and this and this is probably going to be pretty enjoyable. And it was. Like I said, there's a very nice balance between the dramatic side, which, on a side note, if you can get emotional during movies, depending on what kind of sets you off and what triggers you, you might want to keep a box of Kleenexes. There is a lot of father-son, family connection, and some mother-son too in there as well, with Jennifer Garner. And there's going to be some tearjerker moments in there. So if you're susceptible to crying in a movie, you might want to keep a box of tissue next to you. So you'll be using that. So there was a nice blend. I liked this movie a lot. It had a nice blend of the action and the comedy. I've probably said this 15 times already. So, and I think you should give it a watch. I think it's a good overall film, especially for the family. I'm going to watch it later again tonight with the family once they get out of school and off of work and stuff like that. Okay? All right, until next time, we will see you right here because I don't have a couch and I'm not at the movies because, I mean, who goes to the movies anymore? So, see you online. Thank you for watching Flix Freaks. Join us again next week when we review another Netflix original film.